Hold on a moment. I just want to ask you one question, as we're all fellow NBA fans here, of course. Have you ever gone into a season and just decided, I'm buying stock into this player improving or a specific team going beyond expectations? Like, I bought Sixers stock last season knowing their history in the Embiid era and realized that was a mistake. They were taken out in the first round, one round earlier than usual. I also bought some Jalen Johnson stock and watched him contend for most improved player before he was hurt. By the way, watch out for that year 4 leap. The Hawks are making noise next season. You heard it from me. But what's amazing about sports is that even though we all have a favorite team or a specific player we support, we're able to appreciate the beauty that comes with the different storylines that appear from season to season, and we don't enjoy just one team dominating to the point where it feels like watching the regular season isn't even necessary, like for the KD Warriors. We enjoy the competitiveness that comes with many good and threatening teams, and we sometimes hype up players that have no business getting so much attention. I mean, I'll hype up a second round pick knowing that they literally won't touch the court in that season outside of garbage time. But that's just the fun of being a fan, getting your expectations up so high just for it to disappoint you in the end. We're a good bit into free agency, and I think I have a pretty good idea of how I feel about most teams going into the next season, so I'm going to take this chance and begin buying and selling stock based off of my knowledge from last season and the offseason. Just starting off with the Nuggets, I'm selling your stock, I'm sorry. You can fool me once, but not again. They said Peyton Watson was better than Bruce Brown and that he replaced them, and he played 9 minutes per game in the playoffs. Now you're fine with losing KCP because of Christian Braun, and I think that might be even worse. You got Jokic, he's the best in the world in my opinion, and he'll be the main reason that they stay good, but the non-Jokic minutes were terrible in the playoffs, and their best hope is in Jamal Murray turning into Michael Jordan again. After selling that stock, I'm investing some money into Rocket stock for the next season, one of the better defenses in the NBA, top 10 with one of their better defenders in Torrey Eason, out for most of the season. They're adding a positive shooter in Reed Shepherd to help their below average offense, and the only reason that this may backfire on me is if Jalen Green doesn't play even a little bit like he did in March of last season. I don't expect him to be exactly the same player he was, because he was basically playing at borderline superstar levels, but there has to be some level of improvement efficiency wise and in his decision making. Now for some stock that I'll let sit around, see how it fares. The Clippers are a team that I'm going to leave alone. They were a first round exit last season and had a slow second half of the season before they went into the playoffs, and I can see a lot of people selling stock in them, so the price is going down and I'm losing money temporarily, but for the long term, I don't know. I'm being a little delusional, but just imagine this being the first season in a while where Kawhi is healthy come playoff time, and it only ends up happening the moment Paul George leaves. Now there's also the question of whether they can make the playoffs or not, but I'm also buying some Harden stock. Even if you don't like his brand of basketball, it's shown to be great for getting to the playoffs, and even if he's not the same player he used to be, I think having less players to distribute the ball to more often will unlock Harden's scoring. I like some of the additions the Clippers have added, especially in Chris Dunn and Nicholas Batum, and the lineup they could do with these two and Kawhi could be very good defensively. Last season there was a 30-game span from the start of December to the start of February where they went 25-5, and it was due to them being unreal offensively despite being a mediocre defense, but once that hot shooting fell off, so did the team, and they weren't good enough defensively to mitigate that. I think defense is very important towards getting to the postseason, and believe me, I know this. The Hawks are consistently a top offense each season, and I've been in the play-in for the past 3 seasons because they're terrible defensively. There's some stocks that I don't think anyone will be buying, and I'm not talking about the teams that will obviously be bad next season. No more Lakers stock is being bought again. Every year you hear the hype, especially this year. They haven't really done much in this offseason, so there really isn't much reason to hype them up. Good luck to LeBron and AD. As usual, you could call the Lakers the Los Angeles Discussions because that's all they do. They're discussing trading for a third star or making another type of move, and it never happens. I'm definitely not buying Phoenix Sun stock, especially after this year's playoffs. That was kind of a disaster. To me, they're kind of just there, where they could be a top 6 seed but also fall into the play-in before, at most, making it to the second round. But when you have two superstars in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, the expectation should be much more than that. Now, if we're talking about the stock of players in the league, we've got the rising stock for a guy like Ja Morant. I thought that in this season, with a lot of the jumps from guards like Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, and Tyrese Maxey, people have started to forget how good Ja is, but from what I've seen mainly on social media is that a lot of people are still high on him. They still think he's better than the guys previously mentioned, and it's fair to think so. I believe that one season should not be the determining factor for completely shifting a player in rankings unless they were extremely good or bad. To be honest though, why does this even matter when Trae Young clears everyone I just mentioned? His stock should be rising in my opinion, even though it's drastically been dropping every year since 2021. Anyways, let's completely disregard what I just said. Please don't cook me in the comments, I'm not biased at all. Would I be biased on an opinionated video like this? Nah. Going on to some other players whose stock has been rising. One guy I'm easily buying stock in is Paolo Banchero. For a sophomore, he exceeded expectations in the playoffs, 27, 8, and 4 while shooting 40% from 3 against a good defensive team in the playoffs, and he was doing that while playing on a team with bad spacing, which is just something you generally don't see from a sophomore forward, and I'm expecting a leap from him next season. Hopefully the improved shooting with someone like KCP will help open up the offense for him because he's a very crafty and skilled player, but when the defense doesn't have to worry about him kicking it out to good shooters, it's much easier to force him to take difficult shots. For the players whose stock is relatively unchanged, you can just say that those are the consensus top 3 to 4 players that are in the MVP race every season. When a new player enters the MVP race, questions are asked like, is he having a better season than Jokic or Luka or Giannis? They're basically the baseline when you talk about who's the best player in the world, and the most change you'll see in these players is in the top 5, but that's pretty much it. They don't go any further from it, and they're kind of like gatekeepers, not letting anyone in unless they're proven, and even once you're allowed in, there's still much more you have to do to separate yourself. You also have the stock that is perpetually dropping in someone like Joel Embiid, where basically no matter what he does in the regular season, a lot of people won't care, and then even if he does well in the playoffs, if he doesn't make it past the second round, it'll be the same as always where he's made fun of, and the cycle repeats over and over again until he finally can get past the second round. Kawhi Leonard is kind of the same, but in a different way, where we know how good he can be in the playoffs, but the fact that he hasn't been fully healthy for the postseason since 2020 not only drops his stock, but the Clippers stock does as well, since they basically get counted out every season, and it makes sense. Nothing he can do about it, but if he's not healthy for the playoffs for years, then less and less people are going to believe in them. Jimmy Butler's stock has dropped as well in my opinion, because since it feels like he doesn't really take the regular season seriously, his stock is based off of what he does in the playoffs. He was injured this year's playoffs and had a similar regular season as last year while being a 34-year-old on a team that had Tyler Hero playing point guard before they got Terry Rozier. If the Heat get past the first round next season, I will buy and never sell Jimmy Butler stock ever again because I don't even know what direction the Heat are going in right now. There's even LaMelo Ball, whose stock exponentially rises when he plays, but immediately drops because he doesn't even play half the season. Now, these are some of the stocks that I will be buying and selling going into the NBA season. One of these gotta hit, man. I already spent so much money on the Atlanta Hawks stock last season, knowing they wouldn't be good. I'm running out of money, McMahon. Come on, please. Please. To be honest, I could go into the nitty-gritty of all the players that I'm investing in next season, but that would extend out from stars to role players, and that would take too long. I already have a similar video where I talk about players I believe will break out next season, so feel free to check it out. Anyways, let me know down below whose stock you're buying, who you're selling. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.